In a stunning royal twist, Meghan Markle is now facing global backlash as shocking allegations of a secret affair explode across headlines. Leaked photos, anonymous sources, and a mystery billionaire spark betrayal rumors, leaving Prince Harry blindsided and the world questioning everything about the Duchess, who once redefined royal love. The secret slips out. The headlines hit like a thunderclap. Meghan Markle, former Duchess, global celebrity, and symbol of modern royalty, now stands at the center of a swirling, cheating scandal. It began as whispers, then blurry photos, then viral headlines. Now, it's the only thing anyone can talk about. Private sources claim Meghan was recently spotted in Los Angeles, entering and exiting a five-star hotel restaurant in Beverly Hills with a man who wasn't Prince Harry. He's not a bodyguard, not an assistant, not even a close friend from the public record. Eyewitnesses say the encounter looked intimate, the conversation charged. The man? A wealthy international businessman with deep ties to Hollywood and the tech world. His name isn't confirmed, but his presence is undeniable. What makes the timing even more damning is that Harry was reportedly overseas, preparing for the next phase of the Invictus Games, unaware of the meeting taking place back home. Paparazzi shots of Meghan in a black coat, head slightly turned, walking beside the mystery man have spread like wildfire across social media. Some call it innocent. Others say the body language tells a different story, one too familiar to ignore. Adding fuel to the speculation are unverified images that appear to show Meghan and the same man at a second dinner weeks earlier, this time in London. The dinner wasn't listed on any official schedule. Former staffers are now coming forward, anonymously, claiming they were instructed to clear Meghan's schedule for private meetings and were told not to ask questions. That directive, they say, was rare, and it raised eyebrows even then. Royal watchers and former palace aides are buzzing. Is this the scandal the Sussexes were never prepared for? And more urgently, was Harry? The story has now moved beyond photographs and gossip. It's becoming a credibility crisis, shaking the very image Meghan spent years building. Devoted wife, modern royal, feminist icon, media rebel. Every old clip of her speaking about loyalty, love, and royal pressures is being re-examined through a harsher lens. To many, the optics suggest more than coincidence. They suggest intent. And as social media explodes with commentary, comparisons, and speculation, one question grows louder by the hour. If Meghan built her brand on truth and transparency, what happens when secrecy becomes her undoing? Prince Harry blindsided. For a man who walked away from royal life for love, the whispers of betrayal now sting with devastating irony. As the cheating rumors swirl around Meghan, the spotlight has turned toward Prince Harry. Not as a prince or a public figure, but as a husband caught completely off guard. Sources close to the couple say Harry was unaware of Meghan's alleged private outings until the story broke online. By the time the tabloids picked it up, it was too late. The headlines had already gone global, and the damage was done. Insiders describe a wave of tension inside their Montecito mansion, with one source revealing Harry looked completely blindsided. This wasn't just gossip to him, it was personal. Reports suggest that once the news went public, arguments erupted behind closed doors, leading to a period of silence between the couple that stretched for days. Harry's recent public appearances, previously dismissed as low energy or tired, are now being reinterpreted. Body language experts point to his withdrawn demeanor, forced smiles, and distant stares as subtle signs of emotional distress. For a man who has always worn his heart on his sleeve, the difference is noticeable and deeply telling. Adding to the growing storm is speculation that Harry and Meghan are now spending more time apart than together. Multiple sources suggest they've been living under separate roofs, at least temporarily. While official representatives have made no comment, staff members close to the Sussex household hint that tensions have been mounting for weeks, even before the scandal broke. Harry's silence on the matter is now being seen less as dignity and more as internal crisis. For someone so outspoken about his pain, privacy, and personal truth, the lack of response has only fueled speculation that he is struggling, publicly humiliated and privately heartbroken. The palace, predictably, has said nothing. But royal insiders claim that this scandal is already impacting Harry's relationship with his family. King Charles, they say, sees it as confirmation of long-held doubts about Meghan's place within the monarchy. Prince William is reportedly furious, not out of sympathy, but out of frustration. "It's not just about Harry anymore," one source said. "It's about how this reflects on all of them." And while Meghan continues to say nothing publicly, the silence between her and Harry speaks volumes. For a couple who once stood united against the world, cracks are beginning to show. And now, all eyes are on Harry, not as the Duke of Sussex, but as a man facing the hardest question of his life. What do you do when the love you gave up everything for may not have been returned in full? The mysterious man revealed. As the scandal thickens, the public now has a face to place beside the whispers. The man at the center of Meghan Markle's rumored affair has been tentatively identified as a billionaire media tycoon, known for his connections to both Hollywood and London's elite circles. He's powerful, charming, and, most damningly, not Harry. Sources claim Meghan first met the man years ago at a high-profile charity gala in Los Angeles, back when she was riding the wave of post-royal fame. At the time, he was a generous donor and a rising force in entertainment tech. Their encounter, though brief, sparked whispers among event insiders. They were seen laughing, speaking closely, and lingering long after the cameras stopped flashing. It was written off then as professional chemistry. But now, the context looks very different. Multiple insiders allege the two kept in contact privately, exchanging emails and texts over the years. More recently, the man reportedly offered Meghan a slate of brand partnership opportunities, solo, without Harry's name attached. The projects were described as image-driven, including luxury wellness endorsements and potential docuseries pitches focusing on Meghan's independence and personal growth. Paparazzi photos now confirm what many suspected. Meghan was seen entering a private estate in the Hollywood Hills last month, the same property owned by the media mogul in question. No formal meeting was on her schedule. There was no visible security detail, just Meghan, dressed down, arriving in a black SUV. Another photo taken weeks earlier shows her seated beside him at a private luncheon, away from the main table. Their heads tilted close in what looks far more intimate than business. His team has since issued a denial. A brief statement claimed, "There is no romantic involvement," calling the relationship strictly professional. But critics were quick to point out the statement's vagueness and how poorly it aligned with the photos now spreading like wildfire across the internet. And as more footage emerges, the story's emotional weight continues to grow. Meghan, long seen as fiercely loyal to her husband, now finds herself in the position she once condemned. A woman appearing to prioritize ambition over authenticity, partnership over marriage. And for Harry, the silence surrounding the man who may have come between them is deafening. Hollywood whispers and hidden messages. As Meghan's personal life is dissected in headlines, Hollywood insiders are beginning to speak more freely, and what they're revealing paints a far more fractured image than the public ever saw. For the past year, several of Meghan's former acquaintances in the industry have hinted at growing distance between the Duchess and her husband. According to them, Meghan had become increasingly frustrated with Harry's hesitance to re-enter the spotlight. While he focused on safe causes like veterans and mental health, Meghan reportedly yearned for the power and reach she once held in the early days of their post-royal brand. She felt like the momentum was slipping, said one well-connected publicist. The image they built was powerful, but it relied on being a unit. Once their projects started getting delayed, you could see her becoming more independent. Subtle signs began showing up in public. Meghan, known for her symbolic fashion choices, was seen without her engagement ring at several appearances, a detail that didn't go unnoticed by fans or tabloids. While her team insisted it was being serviced, the repeated absence began to raise questions. Then there were her words. During interviews and panel discussions, Meghan increasingly used language that emphasized personal empowerment. "I've learned to choose myself. Sometimes you have to stand alone. And you can't serve others if you don't serve yourself first." Harmless on the surface. But in hindsight, many now wonder, were those her quiet signals that something inside her marriage had already broken? Meanwhile, her Hollywood connections began to thin. Former allies, celebrities who once championed her, grew quiet. Some removed photos. Others unfollowed her social media accounts. A-listers who once proudly sat beside her at events now declined invitations. One industry insider summed it up bluntly. No one wants to get caught in a scandal splash zone. And as the media firestorm intensifies, those closest to Meghan are either distancing themselves or refusing to comment at all. The polished brand once built around love, resilience, and royalty is showing cracks, and fast. The woman who once captivated the world with her fairy tale wedding now finds herself staring down headlines filled with words she never imagined would be tied to her name. Betrayal, infidelity, downfall. And all the empowerment quotes in the world can't stop the question from spreading. Was Meghan preparing for this all along? Or is the Duchess now a prisoner of her own message? Either way, the silence from her inner circle is starting to sound a lot like confirmation. The Markle image collapses. She once commanded headlines as a modern feminist icon, a symbol of strength, diversity, and empowerment within a centuries-old institution. But now, as affair rumors refuse to fade, Meghan Markle's carefully built image is collapsing before the world's eyes. The brand she and Harry worked tirelessly to craft, built on love, unity, and global impact, is unraveling under a wave of public scrutiny and quiet industry rejection. It began with the whispers, then the photographs. Now, the very message that made Meghan relatable, authenticity, transparency, moral courage, is being used against her. Social media has turned brutal. Clips from past interviews are being reshared with new captions. Quotes like, "I just wanted to tell the truth," or "We were silenced, but I won't be silent anymore," are now drowned in comments calling her a hypocrite. Even her famed Oprah interview, once hailed as groundbreaking, is now being dissected for contradictions and emotional manipulation. Critics argue that what Meghan once condemned in others, royal coldness, lack of integrity, dishonesty, she may now be guilty of herself. Industry insiders are reacting just as swiftly. Netflix executives have reportedly hit pause on upcoming projects tied to Meghan's solo image. Sources at Spotify quietly confirm that no future collaborations are in the pipeline. Publishers who once saw her as a fresh literary voice are now reconsidering options, worried that any association could carry reputational risk. Meanwhile, the public is rewatching her interviews, looking for signs they missed. Did she mislead the world? Did she shape her story not as truth, but as strategy? Even supporters are starting to question their loyalty. And perhaps most damaging of all, the feminist community has grown uncharacteristically quiet. Meghan was once their darling, the outspoken woman of color who dared to challenge the monarchy. But personal betrayal, even alleged, changes the equation. Few are willing to defend her now, not openly. Because this time, it's not about a system failing her. It's about whether she failed herself and Harry. And as the spotlight grows harsher, one thing becomes clear. The Meghan Markle the world thought it knew may have only ever been a brand. Now that brand is in freefall. Palace, reaction, and silence. Back in London, the reaction has been swift, but not loud. As Meghan battles headlines in California, Buckingham Palace has activated its oldest, most practiced strategy. Say nothing, show strength. Stay above it all. There has been no statement from King Charles, Prince William, or any senior royal. But that silence is deceptive. Behind closed doors, the palace machine is anything but idle. According to royal insiders, the family sees this scandal not with sympathy, but with sharp, quiet satisfaction. This was always the concern, one palace aide reportedly said. Not just about Meghan's behavior, but the risk of her imploding the very institution she claimed to be victimized by. The affair allegations, true or not, validate years of internal distrust. Meghan, they believe, was never fully committed to the monarchy. And now, the consequences are unfolding exactly as feared. Within palace corridors, it's not just damage control, it's opportunity. Aides are said to be subtly briefing the press to protect Prince William and Princess Catherine's public image. Stories suddenly emerge highlighting Catherine's grace, William's consistency, and the contrast between royal duty and self-serving drama. The firm is reinforcing its golden couple, while letting Meghan twist in the wind. King Charles, while publicly reserved, is reportedly vindicated. Sources close to him say he views the scandal as confirmation that Meghan was never meant to be part of the royal fold long-term. His focus, now more than ever, is legacy. And this scandal is an unwelcome threat to it. Prince William, on the other hand, is said to be furious. Not necessarily for Harry's sake, but for what this does to the monarchy's image, already strained by years of interviews, documentaries, and headlines. Privately, he blames Meghan for dragging the institution into another tabloid frenzy, a distraction no one inside the palace has patience for. And yet, no one will say a word. That silence is intentional. Because the monarchy has learned from its past, scandals die faster when they're starved of air. Let Meghan speak. Let the headlines burn. The firm will not offer fuel. But silence is not the same as indifference. It's strategy. A strategy built on centuries of survival, polished smiles, and letting others destroy themselves publicly, while the crown quietly endures. Public turns on Meghan. For years, Meghan Markle was the underdog in a royal drama, the outsider who dared to challenge centuries of tradition, fighting for her voice, her identity, and her place beside the man she loved. But now, with rumors of infidelity swirling, That sympathy has turned into something colder: disappointment. Polls across major news outlets reveal a swift and severe drop in Meghan's favorability rating, the lowest since she entered the royal sphere. The once loyal base that defended her through palace leaks, tabloid smear campaigns, and family estrangements is now splintered. The narrative has shifted. This time, Meghan isn't the victim. She's the storm. Online, the backlash has reached a fever pitch. Social media platforms that once cheered her speeches on equality and empowerment are now flooded with betrayal memes, quote replays, and pointed commentary. Once protective fans are now leading the charge, posting side-by-side clips of Meghan's past interviews and present behavior, with captions like, "Was this about truth or control?" and "empowerment or entitlement?" A particularly viral post shows Meghan's previous criticism of the royal family's moral failures, immediately followed by a still of her allegedly stepping out with the mysterious billionaire. The irony is not lost on anyone. Even celebrity circles are pulling back. Influential figures who once championed Meghan's causes have grown noticeably silent. Some have even archived photos or paused their public support, not out of cruelty, but out of calculated self-preservation. Hollywood is watching this scandal closely, and right now, the association comes with risk. Perhaps most stunning is the response from the feminist community. Once one of Meghan's loudest and most consistent supporters, feminist influencers and publications are hesitating. While some still call for measured judgment and fair reporting, others are openly questioning whether this betrayal, if true, undermines the very values Meghan claimed to represent. They ask, where does independence end and duplicity begin? Where is the accountability for someone who held the moral high ground for so long? And all of it is magnified by Meghan's silence. She has said nothing, released no statement, offered no denial or clarification. And while silence once gave her power, it now feels like evasion, like guilt. This scandal isn't just damaging her image. It's shattering the emotional contract she once had with the public. The promise that she was different, that she was honest, that she was a force for change. And now, the people who believed in her most are the ones turning away the fastest. Doria caught in the middle. Amid the chaos, one figure remains quietly present and heartbreakingly human: Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother and most trusted confidant. For years, Doria was hailed as the embodiment of grace and grounding in Meghan's life. While Meghan fought off royal feuds, media attacks, and family betrayals, Doria never wavered. She stood beside her daughter through the royal wedding, the Oprah interview, the California transition, and every milestone in between. Her quiet strength, elegant demeanor, and unshakable loyalty made her not just a mother, but a moral compass. Now, that compass is spinning in uncharted territory. Insiders close to the Sussex household say Doria is deeply heartbroken over the scandal that's unfolded, not just for Meghan, but for Harry. Doria has always shared a strong rapport with her son-in-law, often described as the one person who could bridge Meghan's fiery independence and Harry's need for peace. She's been photographed laughing with Harry, walking with him at events, and even co-parenting with him behind the scenes. To hear that Meghan may have betrayed him, it's not just painful, it's personal. Paparazzi have since captured images of Doria visiting Meghan's Montecito estate in recent days, entering through side gates with no security fanfare. According to family insiders, the visits have been serious and emotional. One source described the atmosphere as tense, not hostile, suggesting that Doria is trying to be both a mother and a mediator. And she may be the only one left who can play that role. Caught between her loyalty to her daughter and her respect for Harry, Doria now faces an impossible position. Her public image, once untouched by controversy, is now being quietly scrutinized by tabloids, wondering whether she knew more than she let on. It's an unfair question, but in this climate, even the innocent aren't spared. Insiders say Doria has advised Meghan to take accountability, publicly or privately, and work toward repairing what can still be saved. She's not defending everything, one source said. She's trying to protect what matters most: the family, the children, and the truth. It's unclear how Meghan has responded to that advice, but one thing is certain: Doria's influence is no longer just maternal. It's strategic. The woman once known as Meghan's quiet rock may now be the only person strong enough to guide her through the wreckage. But even rocks can crack under pressure. And with the world watching, Doria now finds herself fighting not just for her daughter's image, but for what's left of their family's future. Harry faces a crossroads. Prince Harry has been through battles most could never imagine. Losing his mother young, growing up under constant public scrutiny, and breaking away from the only system he ever knew for the woman he loved. But now, in the wake of the rumored affair, Harry faces a different kind of crisis, one not of duty or legacy, but of the heart. Sources close to the Duke of Sussex say he's deeply humiliated and emotionally overwhelmed by the public revelations. While Meghan has remained silent, Harry's pain is becoming impossible to hide. Friends reveal that he's been distant, preferring time alone, and has cancelled several internal meetings tied to their joint ventures. For a man who gave up everything, his titles, his military roles, his homeland, for love, this betrayal, if true, cuts deeper than any royal fallout ever could. Insiders suggest that Harry has already begun distancing himself from Meghan's solo endeavors. He's reportedly redirecting his attention to the Invictus Games and his personal charities, quietly shifting away from the joint brand they once promoted as unbreakable. What was once Harry and Meghan is now quietly being rebranded, two separate identities moving in different emotional directions. There are even whispers of legal consultations. Trusted legal advisors have allegedly been brought in to quietly assess the implications of a separation, not just personally, but financially. With media deals, investments, and nonprofits all tied to their shared image, a split would be messy, public, and high stakes. But for Harry, it's not just about business. It's about betrayal. Friends close to him say he's torn between protecting his family, especially Archie and Lilibet, and preserving his own dignity. He doesn't want a scandal. He doesn't want a war. But he may be facing the one choice he never thought he'd have to make: stay silent and suffer, or walk away and start again. In London, the royal family watches closely. While they may never say it aloud, sources say there is a sense of quiet anticipation, waiting to see what Harry will do next. If he stays with Meghan, it could strain his relationship with the monarchy further. If he leaves, it could change everything. For Harry, the crossroads is more than personal. It's existential. He built a life based on love, trust, and defiance of tradition. And now, with one rumor, one scandal, and one silence too long, that foundation is starting to crack. The world is watching not just what Harry does, but who he becomes in the aftermath. The fall of a duchess. Meghan Markle once stood as a force unlike any the royal family had seen in generations. Bold, self-assured, disruptive in all the right ways. She symbolized the possibility of a modern, reimagined monarchy. But today, as rumors of infidelity refuse to fade and public support collapses, the question hangs heavy in the air. Has Meghan Markle's royal chapter quietly come to an end? The fairy tale image she carefully curated, global humanitarian, loving wife, visionary storyteller, now looks fractured, if not fully shattered. Whether the affair is ever confirmed may no longer matter. The perception alone has done its damage. Her critics have found new fire, her defenders have grown quiet, and the public she once captivated has shifted its attention elsewhere, toward doubt, disappointment, and disillusionment. Hollywood is moving on. Brands once eager to attach themselves to Meghan's name are now reconsidering. Streaming platforms have pressed pause. Corporate sponsors are pulling back. And in royal circles, Meghan's name is no longer spoken with reverence, but with careful distance. The once brilliant brand of Meghan Markle has become a cautionary tale. It's not just a scandal, it's a collapse. Not because of a single decision, but because of a slow unraveling of credibility, where silence replaced accountability and public trust was taken for granted. Behind palace doors, insiders say Meghan's name is no longer relevant in strategy meetings. The family is future-focused, on William, Catherine, and rebuilding what was lost. Meghan, once considered a major threat to royal tradition, is now seen as a chapter that closed itself. As for her royal title, it remains, legally. But emotionally, in the eyes of millions, the Duchess has already stepped down. Even her closest allies are unsure what comes next. Can she recover? Rebrand? Rewrite the narrative? Perhaps. But the damage is deep, and the road back is steep. Because this time, it wasn't just the press that turned on her. It was the very public that once held her up. And without that support, the Duchess stands alone, no longer framed by royal glamour, but by the fallout of choices no longer whispered behind palace walls, but shouted across headlines worldwide. Her story isn't over. But the chapter that once promised reinvention, love, and triumph, that chapter just closed. As silence deepens and support fades, Meghan's carefully built image lies in ruins. With her brand shattered and her marriage under strain, the Duchess now faces a turning point. Redemption may still be possible, but the damage is done. The fairy tale has cracked, and the world is watching what breaks next.